Hello guys, hello and welcome to my first ever YouTube video. Hello! Okay, this is really big and this is completely new for me and I still don't know how I should feel about all of this. I mean, I'm in my living room by myself recording this video, talking to my phone, and I literally can't see how the outcome is going to be, but we're doing this. So if you're new here, my name is Gabi. I'm originally from Lithuania. I grew up in Germany and I moved to Spain 9 years ago. I've been creating content for like 4 or 5 years, I would say. And last year, because we're in 26 already, last year I actually quit my full-time job here in Spain to create content full-time. So I create content on Instagram, a little bit on TikTok, but not really. I also have a travel blog, but I've been wanting to start YouTube for such a long time because I am a YouTube girly. I watched YouTube from day one. Guys, I even got the fancy microphone for this, so I really hope that like the audio is more or less okay because I got the fancy setup for that. So for my first video, I thought I'm going to keep it simple. I'm going to keep it simple and I'm not going to overcomplicate my life. I'm going to create a very easy Q&A about life in Spain, living in Spain, and I asked you guys to send me questions on Instagram and we're going to go through them and I will answer all your questions about life in Spain, living in Spain, etc. By the way, before I start, as I said, this is my very first video, so like and subscribe, of course. I think that's what the YouTube people always say, like and subscribe to my channel. For today, it's gonna be a simple Q&A, which when I say simple, I already forgot that if I'm recording from my phone, I cannot read the questions from my phone. So here I am with my super old iPhone that I charged specifically just for this, so that I can read the questions on this phone while my camera on my actual phone is recording. So yeah, but let's do this, and if you have any other questions, feel free to write them in the comments below. Okay, so let's start with the first question, which is an easy one. Why did you move to Spain? So I moved to Spain 9 years ago, which is crazy because I'm 29 now, so I moved to Spain when I literally just turned 20. And I moved to Spain for an Erasmus semester, right? So I was studying in Germany and part of my bachelor degree was studying a semester abroad, so I had to do that. That was not something that I could just decide if I wanted to do. And I ended up doing my Erasmus semester here in Spain. That was in not a big city, that was in Leon in the north of Spain. And honestly, I just liked it so much that I just extended my stay. I kept extending it, and then I moved to Madrid. In Madrid, I did an internship, I found a job, and at some point I was like, okay, I guess I just keep extending my stay more and more, so I think I'm just going to stay there. And I lived in Madrid for 7 years, I want to say, and 2 years ago I moved to Barcelona, which is where I am living now. Number 2, how did you find your jobs in Spain? That is something that people ask me all the time. I actually, like 2 years ago, published a guide about how to find a job in Spain. I unpublished it because I felt like I needed to update several parts of it because there's things and laws that are always changing. So it's currently unpublished, but I'm gonna try and update it and then republish it because that's something that people just ask me all the time. But how did I find all of my jobs in Spain? And that's something that I always tell people. I found all the jobs that I had in Spain mainly because I speak German and I studied economics. So whenever people ask me of like, am I gonna be able to find a job in Spain? It really depends on several things, okay? But I would say it really depends on your background, and specifically in Spain, if you're looking for a corporate job, I would say it depends on the languages that you speak. Because once I started looking for a job, I realized that in Spain, there's a lot of companies looking for German speakers, French speakers, companies looking for Dutch speakers, Norwegian speakers, like all these languages that are needed here. So if you speak languages, you will definitely be able to find a job in Spain. If you're gonna be happy with the salary, that's another question, but this is basically how I found all of my jobs in Spain. And to be completely honest with you, I think I was underqualified for several of them, but because I spoke the language, I kind of just ended up in positions where I just ended up in. I'll put it in the info box, I think is what you call that correctly. I'll put it in the info box once I updated the guide, and then if you're interested in it, you can have a look at it. Why do you think Spain is so family friendly? What makes you feel this way? That's a good question, because I published a couple of reels where I said that I think Spain is a very family friendly country, right? So very community focused. And I think it's because I used to live in Germany, which I think is a very individualistic country, I would say, right? And I think that's not the case in Spain. I think Spain is a very family-friendly country, and you can see that when you go out and you see there's families everywhere. There's not a space where people will look at you because you're bringing your kids. You can bring your kids to a bar, you can bring your kids to a restaurant, and you're gonna stay there until late in the evening. Kids are not excluded from society in Spain specifically, which is something that I really, really like, and I feel like Germany is very different. Let's see another question. How did you learn Spanish? Okay, so that is a tough one, because I moved to Spain and my Spanish was close to zero, right? So I went to university in Germany, and I did have Spanish classes in university where I learned zero. I learned absolutely nothing, because my professor focused on grammar. So if you ask me what's the past pluscuamperfecto of something, I could tell you what it was. But if you ask me to order a beer at a bar, I would not be able to. So I moved to Spain, and I was like, why is everybody talking so fast? I don't understand anybody. Why is everybody using vosotros? I learned ustedes. So that was really hard for me as well. How did I end up learning Spanish? I think I had the advantage that I moved to a smaller city and not Madrid or Barcelona. And during my first year in Leon back then, I learned so much, because in Leon, there was no way of avoiding Spanish. Or you speak Spanish, or you're not participating in like social plans or anything. So I think I was just forced to speak Spanish all the time. And at some point, it worked, even though I'm gonna say the first 6 months I spent with other German students and like avoiding it. But after 6 months, I extended my stay, and I was like, no, I have to do it. I cannot just speak German and English all the time. This is not okay. So yeah, I think that's what it is. And I always tell people, if you really want to learn Spanish, I would not go to Madrid or Barcelona, because you're just gonna end up speaking English to everybody, and everybody's just gonna speak English to you. Next question is interesting. Would you say Barcelona is safe? I live in Madrid and I would like to be closer to the sea, but had bad experiences there. Whew. That is a really good question, and something that people always discuss with me. So whenever it comes to that question, I would say it depends on what you're used to, right? It depends on, are you currently living in London, Paris, Berlin? Then Madrid and Barcelona will be incredibly safe for you, incredibly safe. Madrid and Barcelona are very, very, very safe cities compared to like other European cities. I honestly believe it. I lived in Madrid, I live in Barcelona, and I feel very, very safe as a woman living here. There's also something, if I have to be honest, I feel like Madrid is safer than Barcelona. Personally, I lived in Madrid, and I lived in areas in Madrid that people would say are unsafe, but my thing, why I think Madrid feels very safe, is because there's always people outside. There's always, at any time of the day, at any day of the week, there's people outside, there's bars, there's people hanging out outside, and this is why I felt incredibly safe. By the way, I just cut the video and I checked how it turned out, because I was like, what if I have to record everything again because I didn't like the setup or anything, but I think it's fine. How did you find friends in Spain? Any tips? That is a very good question, and I think the older you get, the harder it becomes to make friends in general, and then if you move abroad, it's even harder. What has helped me, at least in Madrid, my first friends that I made in Madrid were from language exchanges. Honestly, I don't recommend these language exchanges at all, because I think the majority of people there, especially guys, are there because they want to like flirt with like foreign girls. And then I made a lot of friends from my first job, and actually we stayed friends, like we are still friends from like 9 years ago, you know. So I understand that's not always possible to be friends with like people from your job, but I would say what has helped me as well was signing up to a co-working, right? Basically just sign up to a place where you're gonna be going a lot repeatedly. That can be any sport class, that can be a co-working, that can be a gym, that can be a run club. I hate run clubs, you will never see me at a run club, but something that like makes you like go to the same place and meet the same people all the time. In Madrid, I had friends from my gym, for example. So there's all these different ways on how you can meet people. Something that I recommend as well is checking out different community groups. For example, my friend Tom in Madrid, he created Guiris de Mierda, which is a community for not just internationals, also locals, but they do events in Madrid, Barcelona, and now also other cities in Spain, which I think is super cool. So you can check them out. In Barcelona specifically, there's also City Girls, there is Bienvenidas Barcelona, which another content creator colleague of mine started. So that's also something really cool. A couple of weeks ago, I also tried out Time Left, which I really liked. And not just because I had a collaboration with them, but I think the concept of meeting strangers for dinner really resonated with me, because I am somebody who loves going out for dinner and trying new restaurants. So it's just a fun concept where like you go out on a dinner and then you meet with 5 strangers and you just have dinner with them. And I really like that. So those were some things that I tried and they worked out really well for me. Is Barcelona worse for learning Spanish than Madrid? Yes. I feel like living in Madrid, one of the big advantages are that Madrid is a very Spanish traditional city. It's the capital, right? Barcelona, next to Spanish, also has, as the second main language, official language, has Catalan. So a lot of people here speak Catalan. So I feel like if you don't speak Spanish and then all of a sudden you're listening to a lot of Spanish and you're listening to a lot of Catalan, it's gonna confuse you. Like it happens to me sometimes. I would honestly recommend, if you want to learn Spanish, I don't recommend Madrid or Barcelona. I would recommend going to like a smaller place where you will be exposed to a lot of Spanish and the international community is not that big. Another funny side story is that when I lived in Madrid and I had a lot of international friends, I would say 99% of my international friends had a really good level of Spanish. Really good level, like impressive good level of Spanish. Now that I'm in Barcelona, and I do have a lot of international friends, there are a lot of people here who have been living here for years, and I'm talking about years, and they don't speak Spanish. What's the stuff you struggle most with in Barcelona? Oh, that is a very good question. Maybe to give you also the backstory of that, I moved to Barcelona because my boyfriend's job is here, and back then I was working remotely, so for me it didn't really matter where I lived. I think there's several things that I struggle with in Barcelona, and I think I'm just gonna be honest. One of the struggles that I have is, like I said before, I think it's a very big transit city, which means that what I said before, you meet people who will not be here in a week, who will not be here in a month, who will not be here anymore in 6 months. So it's just really hard because you meet people and then they move away. Another thing that I struggle with in Barcelona, I don't feel like it's a very welcoming city. I think it just goes down to the locals being more closed, right? Compared to Madrid. Because I feel like Madrid is a city where you will meet people not just from Madrid, but you will meet people from like all parts of Spain. And everybody mingles, right? And I think in Barcelona, people don't mingle as much. I feel like the locals don't mingle so much with the internationals and vice versa. And that is just, I feel like, tough because I'm a person that loves when people mingle. I love like mixing groups and inviting people from this group to hang out with that group. And I think it's a bit tough how like the internationals do their thing and the locals do their thing and there's no mingling. I think that's those are the two main parts that I personally really struggle with. The last complaint that I have, if you can call that a complaint, but I would say there's a part of me that feels like I don't enjoy Barcelona as much because I am not a beach person and I am also not an outdoor sports person. And I feel like you will love Barcelona, you will enjoy Barcelona when you live here if you love the beach. And outdoor sports is just Barcelona, right? So you can play paddle, you can play tennis, you can join one of the 5 million run clubs that are in the city. If you love hiking, if you love climbing, if you love any outdoor sport, cycling, right? That's where you will really, really enjoy the city. And I feel like I am just not that type of person. Guys, nobody warned me that after sitting down for so long, I'm gonna like struggle. Any apps you find helpful living in Spain? Something people don't know about. Very good question. An app that could be helpful for living in Spain. I think there's a couple that I think some people maybe just like don't know about. You can see I'm starting to be uncomfortable. So I think one that I really enjoy with my boyfriend is Amovens, right? So Amovens is an app where you can rent a car from a private person in your neighborhood who has a car and says, I don't use my car on Mondays, Thursdays, and Sundays. And during those days, they publish their car in that app and you can rent it out per hour. And it includes insurance. Why do I like this app so much? Because my boyfriend and I have like a conversation once a month of like, should we get a car? Would it help us if we have a car? And every month we're like, nope, it's too expensive. Parking is expensive. Insurance is expensive. And instead we're just using Amovens. Every time you want to go on a one-day trip, every time you want to go to the Costa Brava, every time you want to go somewhere where you would need a car or it's just easier to have a car, we just rent it out on Amovens. And the nice thing is that you don't even have to meet the owner of the car. You can unlock them with the app, bring it back, lock them again with the app. It's a super easy system and it's more affordable than you might think. So that is an app that I'm like, I don't know why people don't talk about it. To us, it's one of the best apps that we discovered here in Barcelona. Another app that I really like is actually created from my friends and it's called Bonappo. If you are in Madrid and Barcelona and you don't know what restaurants you want to try or what restaurants are there in town, they have this really, really beautiful app with restaurant recommendations and they're always adding new restaurants. And it's just a really, really nice way of filtering restaurants. So if you have a group of 10 people and you're like, okay, where can I take them in Barcelona? There is a filter that says for groups, for example, right? So every time my boyfriend and I don't know what restaurants we should go to, we literally use the app. And I think it's an app that turned out really, really nice. And I'm gonna link it in the description box and you can check it out. And the last app that I would say I really enjoy actually is Classpass. And maybe you're like, oh my God, another person that is talking about Classpass. But let me tell you something. I was a gym member here in Barcelona for like a year and I never liked it. And my gym was an expensive gym. It was a 90 euro per month gym. It was freaking expensive. And I never liked it. I never liked the experience. It was always crowded. It was always dirty, let's be honest. And I never really liked the service I received there. And then my friend told me about Classpass and then I could just, because I'm a person who goes to classes anyway, like when I go to the gym, I mostly go to the classes. And now I'm going to all these different classes all over the place and I really, really like it. And I changed to the paid plan super quickly and I just upgraded to the higher tier plan and I love it. I think it's so fun and I think it's so much better than like what I was paying before for the gym, which was ridiculous. And you can even transfer your credits from one month to the other month. I think honestly it's such an amazing app and I know why people talk about it because I think it's awesome. Oh my God, I just realized that was the last question. Maybe that's something that I should look at beforehand. But oh my God, guys, that was my first YouTube video ever. Super exciting. I hope you liked it. I don't know, if you have anything that you think I should improve, let me know. I'll try to give you like a nicer setup next time and not just like my living room couch. But yeah, don't forget to like and subscribe. I hope I said it in a good way. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments. I'll try to link any information, material whatsoever in the description box below. And then I'll see you In my next YouTube video,